It is the clash of the champions, three-time champions Germany against 1998 champions France, at stake a place in the semis of the 2014 World Cup. Germany have made every semi-final since 2002. Can they make it 4 in a row, or will France bring a surprise? And host Brazil are the second act of the night. They play a team which has enormous flair like they once used to have in Colombia. Coach Scolari has told the local media and critics to go to hell. It's heating up as we hit the business end. Good evening. Yes, when did you last hear a coach tell the local media to go to hell? Interesting, it is hotting up and we are down to the quarterfinals of this World Cup. Karim Ben-Sharifa, Novi Kapadia have been here with us, in fact, from the afternoon. Such is the excitement in the air as we gear up to kick-off time. The video wall behind me shows the history of this World Cup, round of 16 over, quarterfinals coming up. I'm going to walk to the match that comes from the historic Maracana. France 98 champions versus Germany, two teams, great rivalry both on and off the pitch. Let's set this game up when we to start the show.
Footballing pedigree of the highest order. Les Bleus against the three-time champions, a clash of European heavyweights that has blockbuster written all over it.
France are a very good team, but I think we are equal and we are going to go onto the pitch with a lot of self-confidence.
Nobody is afraid. We are here. It's a quarter-final match. The German team is very strong with a lot of experience, but I don't think anybody is afraid.
The Mannschaft are currently facing a major crisis both on and off the pitch. 7 players are reportedly down with influenza. And on the pitch, Germany have failed to carry their 4-0 opening game humiliation of Portugal into subsequent games. The 2-1 win against Algeria was hardly convincing and has set off a torrent of criticism back home.
From yesterday until today, all players were able to train. They still have a slight cold, but there's no feeling of exhaustion. I just hope they stay stable until tomorrow and we don't have any problems overnight.
If omens are anything to go by, Les Bleus will go into the tie brimming with confidence. France have made the semi-finals of the last 2 World Cups in which they qualified for the knockouts. And even though they were made to sweat for the round of 16 victory against Nigeria, Didier Deschamps will be pleased with the versatility in attack. Paul Pogba has seemingly found form at just the right time, while Karim Benzema has looked hungry from the very outset.
We are not afraid of anything. We are fully aware of the fact that in one match, just about anything is possible. And it is always possible that this match could be our last. But there is no fear. It's a sheer joy to play Germany in a quarter-final.
Not much separates these two giants on paper. And come Friday night, 90 minutes might also not be enough to decide a clear winner. The historic Maracana in Rio could well be in for a long afternoon.
Yes, Novi Kapadia, big game, but the word coming out from the German camp not so encouraging. 7 players reportedly down with influenza, and Hummels certainly not the most popular man in the dressing room because he was the person who actually got it the first time and then passed it on in a sense.
Yes, I mean, it's to be seen how fit they are, and sometimes these are a bit of mind games also. We really don't know exactly what is going on, and sort of Germany giving that impression that they are weak. But overall, we expect a football classic between two great football nations with a great pedigree, great tradition of developing young talent. And as we were discussing, the weather really for once isn't a major factor.
Both teams are European teams.
Both teams are European teams, so it won't be an impediment to either of the teams. Both have played good attacking football. I mean, Germany, now it's to be seen, was Algeria an off day? Have they got their combination right with Philipp Lahm slotting into as right back? Have they got all that correct? And, if they can, will Germany be the team which played against Portugal or the team which played against Algeria?
One thing you didn't tell us, why are you wearing a German shirt? Clearly you know something from Jogi Löw, the team's perfectly fit. Karim Ben-Sharifa, before the World Cup, we were talking about which France will turn up. The France which has turned up has shown a lot of flair, they've attacked. So clearly, two teams know each other very well. I mean, Sakho has said that we have to be up for the fight. Sharla saying we know our opponents. So clearly plenty at stake, but two teams know each other. So in a sense, they know what to expect.
They're neighbors. It's a classic game. And at this stage, every team know each other. You know, even when we talk about Costa Rica, that was the unknown. Everybody know how they play. So they know each other very well. It's all depend on the day form. And also on what can happen during the 90 minutes or the 120 minutes. Because a lot of things can happen. From the luck to the performance of the referee, to the injuries, to the cards, and all this.
To probably influence the after effects.
So basically, it's these factors are also can affect the performance of the players and the results of the game.
Okay, let's look at the lineups, the projected lineups, which we always do. And a rider, when we're going to have Germany up, this is how Karim Ben-Sharifa thinks Jogi Low should play. 4-2-3-1, but importantly, look here, he wants Philipp Lahm back at the position he made famous. Go back, Sharla back on top. He's come on as a substitute and scored for them. Ozil, Muller up on top, Gutza, Kroos, Schweinsteiger, rest remains the same. But Karim wants Germany to play this way. Let's look at the other lineup which is going to come up. This is France. They've dazzled in a sense, that back four. But importantly, at the top, Valbuena, Benzema, Griezmann, followed behind by Pogba and Matuidi, the engine rooms. Karim Ben-Sharifa, let's walk to your corner, Karim's corner. In fact, that's how we call it.
Yep.
Tell me, why do you want Germany to play like this? We've seen, in a sense, is it because in the last game against Algeria, Germany, the balance came back only when Lahm moved back to the position he used to play in? Is that the reason?
Well, there is two reasons. Now, France will come on their usual 4-3-3, and Germany most probably will come also on their 4-3-3. The number one is the strength of France. Pogba and Matuidi are two players who like to go forward and really very high. And when we look at only Lahm being here, they may have superiority in the midfield because of their fitness, because of their energy. The other problem that I always see in Germany is there is no link on this area. No, you have Müller here and you have Philipp Lahm here, though there is the Schweinsteiger and Kroos, they support, but it's not enough. That's why I think if Germany come on a 4-2-3-1, number one, they will have Ozil, a key player to link very well with the Müller, and of course, especially with the support of Schürrle and Götze. It will be very good attacking position, but also defensively, all these runs of Pogba and Matuidi, we will have both Schweinsteiger and Kroos taking care and making sure that the back four or the centre backs, especially when they attack, they will be quite balanced. And this will allow also Philipp Lahm to really overlap high, because you have both centre backs and also Kroos and Schweinsteiger always available in case there is a quick counter attack.
The problem is that Jogi Low is not budging from his stance. He's become rigid in a sense. He's saying, I'm going to play Philipp Lahm where I want him to play, which is the center of the pitch.
Well, let's see. I mean, he may have learned the lessons of history after the experiences of the Algeria match. It definitely does seem Lahm is more suitable as right back, and because he's lightweight, he's quicksilver, he intercepts very well, he anticipates, his timing of the tackle is perfection, but he gets pushed over in midfield, and especially with both Pogba, 6'3", Matuidi, who's a real fighter, who's, you know, like a middleweight boxer. I mean, Lahm could be lightweight over there, so that could be a problem, as Karim has pointed out, in midfield. And let's see what Joachim Low picks, because that could be a disadvantage. You see that defense playing a high line, the German defense playing a high line, there were too many errors. They don't have very fast players falling back. There are no sort of really quick defenders. And of course, he had a brilliant game, Manuel Neuer, but he can't do it all the time.
And Karim, that defense will be tested by this lot. The French, you have, we spoke about Matuidi and Pogba. In fact, Pogba, people are now saying, could command a double of a transfer fee what Bale got. That is his impact. Remember, he didn't start too well. But then look at the front line which they have. Those three, Griezmann linking up with Benzema and Valbuena, who's in fact diminutive man, but what pace he's got. This German backline could struggle big time.
And Hamel, but especially Mertesacker, they are quite slow. That's why Müller coming out and covering them and playing like sweeper behind them is very important. Of course, they will be tested, and that's where in my opinion, if they play that three midfielders, it will be very difficult because definitely 3 versus 3. I give an advantage to the French team because of their fitness and their quality. And that's why they need the way we explain so they can tackle the strength of this French midfield, but also the strikers. Griezmann, Valbuena's mobility, the Karim Benzema finishing. That's why it's very important to not only mark these players, but cut the supply line on the midfield by having rather than only one holding midfield, but 2 holding midfielders.
But also, does he need to change his system and go back to 2006, where Jurgen Klinsmann simply threw on Klose and Podolski and made the opposition defense worry as well? That could in fact change the game as well. We've not seen much of Klose, we've not seen much of Podolski. They've been on the bench and he's gone with Muller. But also the fact remains, to hurt France, you need to have a go at them as well.
Yes, but I don't think so, because I think he's got his attacking line roughly settled. Case of here Shurla or Götze starting. But it's the back four which is trouble. There's no Andres Brema. There's nobody with that sprint-like ability. They had earlier players of that ability. Over here, the only quick defender is Philipp Lahm. And you need somebody, because both Hummels, Mertesacker is aging, they are clumsy. So that is going to be a problem. Often these games are often decided by individual brilliance or mistakes. We often forget that, the beauty of football.
Lahm's mistake in Euro 2008,
Euro 2008 led to Fernando Torres' goal.
Yes.
So often it is, so if there's a weak link, there is a more chance of a mistake. And these are classic games. It's going to be a 1-goal margin. So that's why you have to be very careful. Germany
Interesting he says that, because, Karim, all through the day you've been talking about how Germany have the bit of advantage because they know how to deliver in this situation. But ultimately, going to be a tight game, as Novi suggests, so we could see lots of goals being scored.
I think it will still be a tight game. But as we discussed before the show, definitely Joachim Löw will look to finish the game on 90 minutes because of when you have 7 players didn't train for maybe missed 1 or 2 train session, having flu, I don't think they will be able to play a long tiring game of 120 minutes. So let's see how he will approach the game, because I'm sure he will be so happy to finish this game on 90 minutes, especially that they spend a lot of energy on Algeria's game going till extra time.
I'll tell you who else will be happy if this game finishes in 90 minutes. My colleague Sanjeev Mukherjee, because then you can do a show at 11:30.
Exactly.
Let's move on. We will not be able to pick up
experience.
Yes.
I think that gives them the edge. Compared to the French team, the German team has more players who've been through the grind of a World Cup. I think that gives them the edge, because France also against Nigeria, we saw the final ball was at time lacking. If that Nigerian midfielder had not gone off, France was struggling. So that's why I think I agree. Definitely Germany the edge, but maybe they would prefer it in 90 minutes.
Okay, fine. We will not be able to pick a winner for this one, but we can always depend on the expertise of Seleção. Now that's the Brazilian fortune-telling turtle. This one seems to be confused as well. We'll see when we come back after the break. So we'll come back and discuss Brazil-Colombia. The second quarter-final later tonight comes to us from Fortaleza. Hosts and 5-time champions Brazil taking on fellow South Americans Colombia, who in fact are playing only their 5th World Cup ever. However, the team that started the tournament as dark horses are coming into their own over the last few weeks. They've recorded victories in all their 4 matches so far in the tournament. And remember, no Radamel Falcao in this Colombian team as well. They have, of course, that one talisman named James Rodriguez, or as we are being told, James Rodriguez in the ranks, who leads the list of top scorers with 5 goals. But also in the race for the Golden Boot with 4 goals is Brazil's Neymar. He was suffering from a knee injury but is expected to have recovered in time for the big game tonight. However, Luis Gustavo is out of the match. He's serving a suspension. So we can expect Luis Felipe Scolari to change things a bit. Brazil, of course, are the tournament favourites, but are yet to make a mark with a standout performance. Novi, the heat is well and truly on. An incredible press conference when he actually had a go at the critics, at people like us probably who've been going after him, as well as local media, and in fact told them go to hell. We've covered sport for so many years. In fact, you've covered much more than me, but we've never had a coach tell us go to hell on our face.
No, this shows the anxiety and the pressure is telling on Scolari. You know, he came back to rescue Brazil after they were in a slump after the 2012 loss in the London Olympics. And now this pressure is non-stop because, you know, Brazil is no more, it's no more an ode to joy. They are playing utilitarian football. This is arguably one of the weakest Brazilian teams ever seen in a World Cup.
The most boring Brazilian team.
Yes, it's just frantic pace, lot of commitment, pushing men forward, and the genius of Neymar, that there is no doubt. Individually, he's a brilliant player. As even some Brazilian greats are saying, that if this World Cup had been held outside Brazil, Brazil would definitely not have been the favourites. It's that crowd and the idea that you're playing in the home of football that is helping this team to play better. Of course, they may prove us wrong by turning out a classic display. Oscar would have to come into form. But I think this is the pressure telling on Scolari that he has not delivered. The team is expected, and probably he's feeling guilty that he's just stuck to this team. He's done a Del Bosque, not looked around for other changes, you know, got carried away by the Confederations Cup victory.
Okay, Karim, also on Scolari, after saying go to hell, he also said we have one hand on the cup. Either he's got a surprise weapon somewhere, probably isn't Joe, or we don't know.
But just before he said we have one hand on the cup, or after, he did also say that, praise Colombia and say, if we lose to Colombia is not the end of the world. And when a coach, you know, that's already half defeat.
Yes.
When you start thinking that if we lose, I mean, most of the experienced coaches, we never talk about losing, and only after you lose, then you give excuse for that. But before, it's a message, because that's a wrong message to the team, to the players, to the fans. I know he wants maybe to do that to calm the expectations, but in my opinion, it's a wrong message and wrong phrase to say. So yes, no doubt, Scolari is a little bit definitely under pressure, and that pressure is making him to do mistakes, you know, the way talking to the media, the way trying to lower the expectation, it's not possible.
It's interesting this, you saying this, because I remember 4 years back, the quarterfinals kicked off in South Africa, Nobi and I were there, and Brazil went out to Holland. You never know what's going to happen. What we know is going to happen is coming up on the video wall is the tweets you keep writing into us. Some interesting ones, I hope. Let's see what we have on Twitter. Bartwa writes, Sid and Ivan, due to the large amounts of space at the back, due to Marcelo and Dani Alves, the likes of Rodriguez will fancy their chances. Even without them, I can tell you, Rodriguez will fancy his chance. The battle against Neymar, who is the big superstar. Aditya writes, it's Neymar versus Rodriguez, but do Brazil deserve to go further? Question for Karim and Nobi. They've answered it all throughout this World Cup. We've been saying Brazil aren't the team we know. MK Kukut writes, though my heart says France, my head says Germany, as they are the past masters. Influenced by the German way of thinking, very pragmatic in a sense is this one. Also, the final one, Kamal Raj Dhillon writes, World Cup, I want EPL referees in the World Cup because the rest are playing with footballers. I'm not sure all EPL referees are of the same standard. Our tweet of the day comes from Ketan. Ketan writes, I want Germany and Colombia to win. Brazil is riding on past legacy, hasn't played like potential champions. Let Colombia create magic. Yes, they have in fact created magic, and we have enjoyed every moment of it so far. This is how you can join the conversation. All you need to do is tweet IBN Live with the hashtag World Cup. As we saw in that tweet before, you can also tweet Karim and Novi as well. Time for us to go. Hopefully, we'll be back at 11:30 with the result from the first quarterfinal. See you then.